And because you had mentioned to me off before we started recording that
Yeah.
growing up you had like a problem with stuttering, and
Oh yeah, for sure.
how did
Yeah.
you like overcome that just to be able to put that fear aside? Because talking in front of a mic and then interviewing people, and you've had a ton of guests on your show, and you do
Yep.
well. You talk to a lot of minor leaguers and players and all that. How do you kind of put that aside, or how would you give advice to someone else maybe who's looking to start a podcast or even kind of get into public speaking but has that fear of stuttering? Or how did you go about facing your fears in that direction, I guess?
It's I mean, and then like so I went to and like I took like my mom had me take lots of classes like growing up like for speech therapy and I mean because there's kids like that would just like make fun of me like for I guess like for stuttering, but like she would always like remind me that I could use it like for my own special ways. So, and it was kind of like, I mean, it's so it gets funny. So it's like when people stutter, I mean, like I can kind of say for like a few other guys like that I know, like I like to do stutter. It's like when you're like singing or like trying to like rap a song, like you don't stutter. It just comes out. And it's because you're kind of like comfortable doing it. And for me, with the whole um like with talking like with baseball and stuff, that's like what I love. Like that's my passion. So I know like kind of like what I'm gonna say like before I say it. But then again, when I do my podcast and I like plan questions before I do my podcast, I get like I get kind of like anxiety about it. So that's
Mm.
why I just let it flow. And
Yeah.
then because if I just let it flow, then it's a natural like conversation. And then like I don't think about like my stutter or anything because like the second that I think of a question in my head that I want to ask, then I like stop and pause and then it just gets bad. But
That's
it's
interesting because I feel like
yeah.
I'm the opposite. Like I feel like I
Oh really?
have to not like not in the stuttering area, but I feel like if I don't not script it out, but if I don't have pre-planned questions,
Yeah.
then I feel like my mind, because like I'm the kind of person like I will lose my train of thought so quickly,
Yeah.
and, and like my mind just goes blank. So I don't have like every single like a script per se,
Yeah.
but I have like certain questions I go and then I kind of play off that flow. Like if I don't get to it,
Mm,
I don't get to it. But I feel like if you have a couple, for me at least, I have a couple
yeah,
baseline questions
for
or
sure.
topics, and that kind of from there I can branch into other questions that kind of come up and all that. But
Hmm.
I find that interesting, and I've watched some of your podcasts, your YouTube channel. If you haven't looked at his YouTube channel, definitely check out what he does. Check out his podcast. He has a great podcast, and you do really well at just flowing. Like it's just like
I appreciate it.
common, casual conversation, and I think that's really, really impressive. And I would have never guessed you had an issue with stuttering. I feel like I have never had that experience listening to you or your watching your videos.
Yeah, there was a so earlier on, I think it was like probably like it's probably like one of like my first episodes that I recorded with someone, and it was a bigger name, so I was kind of nervous about it. But then but then and then like so we like recorded for like 5 minutes, and then he was like, okay, like let's stop and redo this. And I was like, ah shit, like I
Oh
messed up.
man.
But then but then he goes, "What? Like, why are you nervous?"
Yeah.
And I was like, and then I just like told him why, and like all this stuff. And he goes, "You know what? Like this whole being like in this like industry and talking, like we're all just normal people. We just have really badass jobs, and that's it. And they like baseball like as much as we do, and they understand it. And then so therefore, it's just a nice flow conversation. So then like from that moment, it just became a lot easier. And then like I did not plan for any like questions to ask people. It just flowed on. And that I guess like that was a pretty big thing for me too.
Yeah. So tell me about more about your podcast.
Yeah.
You focus on minor leaguers. Why is that?
Uh, so 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 one of my earlier podcasts I did with so my first one would have been with Jonathan Perrin. So he's a former minor league guy for the Brewers and the Royals, and I got hooked up with him like through someone else. But then and then I googled his name, and this article that he did with Jeremy Wolf, like I said earlier, from More Than Baseball, I did an article about like the living conditions and all that with like within like the minor leagues, and like the numbers that are like true statements from the numbers like within like I would say like the financials like within minor league baseball. It just blows my mind. Because they are like they are considered like for tax purposes. I think it's like don't quote exactly, but I believe it is seasonal apprentices.
Hmm.
So yeah, so they really don't have to make a minimum wage, and it just blows my mind that how those guys like they don't make any money playing the sport, that they also have to be elite athletes. They have to eat healthy and to find places to live, and a lot of the teams and like the organizations don't help them out, and it's just like it's crazy. So so the reason why like I want to focus on them is because like I want to hear like their stories, like from like how they got to like where they are now, and pretty much why they continue to play and why they continue to go through like the minor leagues like how they do. Because they all have that one goal like of making it big, but it's just like and like they all have different stories, and it's like I haven't heard any story of the same. It's
Yeah.
it's it's awesome. And then also, like, because it kind of like get, I guess, like, 'cause I also want to give them a, I guess, like like a way to um have like media for them like to show, and then like to get their story out to people and just help them out.
That's cool. And I've had a couple Brewers minor leaguers on this show,
Mhm.
and just the two that I had, they actually went undrafted just due to COVID and the
Yeah,
5 rounds in 2020. Both of them were signed as free agents, and both of them were expected to go to get drafted, pre-COVID.
yeah,
But then just to hear their stories of how their whole lives went from they're expecting to get signed and a bigger signing bonus, and then they're signed as free agents,
yep,
and just due to everything, like the signing bonuses were really minimal, and they had that choice, like, am I going to just take this money, sign with the team as a free agent, and just start my career, or go back to college and
yeah,
hope for something better in the future. Both of them ended up taking that free agent route and signing with the Brewers, and they're both doing really well, pitching well. And one's in Double A, or one's in Low A, one's in High A. And they made the right choice, and it's
yeah,
just crazy how like you hear all these stories about how minor leaguers are treated correctly. And did you see that story about Oakland A's? And I know I'm wearing their hat,
yeah,
but I mean, and how the pictures of the sandwiches and all that stuff that they were feeding their
yep,
minor leaguers, it was kind of uh spreading around, the Twitterverse and all that,
yeah.
maybe what, 2 3 months ago. And just I love how you can give them a voice to highlight what they do, and also kind of elevate their careers.
So yeah, there. Like I've heard stories. Oh, actually, cause like I know guys personally like who have had to sleep in their cars. Like just so they had money to eat like professional athletes, and then like I like to I like to keep their bodies up, and like gym memberships, and like you just have to sacrifice to, I guess, like pretty much like to go for your dream.